Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today I'm joined with Mirai from the band Sigh. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing fine. It's still 9 a.m. in the morning, so I'm a bit sleepy, but well, it's okay. It's very hot in Japan right now.
Just a little bit groggy still, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, well, Sigh's been around forever at this point. You guys are now celebrating 30 years since your first album, is that right?
Yes, our debut album Scorn Defeat came out in 1993, so this is exactly the 30th anniversary.
So with that, you have now released a live album.
Yes.
What kind of goes into picking what songs to play and picking what show to record for a live album?
Well, actually, we have 12 albums released so far, but there are two purpose to do that concert. So the first one is, so first we like to cover almost all over Korea from Scorn Defeat to our latest album Shiki, and of course the show happened in August of last year, and the latest album Shiki came out at the same time. So we wanted to promote the new album too. So we like to cover whole Korea and to promote the new album. So that's how we chose the set list for the live album.
And then obviously when it comes to promoting an actual live album, do you find that a little bit more difficult than just a studio album?
Well, yeah, I don't know, maybe that's true because it's just a live album. So, but now we have a totally in a brand new lineup. So we like to promote the new lineup too. So we like to introduce our new guitarists to our fans too. So that's one of the purpose to release this live one too.
And a lot of your album covers are quite, I guess the best way to put it is just spooky. What kind of
Yeah.
goes into how you develop your album covers to go with the album?
It changed a lot because the very first album was rather primitive. It was like a manga drawing. But after that, we started using some traditional Japanese drawing for a while. But when we released albums like Infidel Art or Ghastly Funeral Theater, Hell or Hell, we used that, as you see, we used the ukiyo-e, which is a Japanese traditional drawing. But a lot of Japanese bands started mimicking, started copying what we were doing. So we were kind of sick of doing the same thing again. So from the album, the scenario for Dread Dreams, we changed our style to more, traditional heavy metal way. So probably, yeah, we didn't use a very Japanese artwork for a while, but the latest album Shiki, we finally got back to our older style with it is not a traditional drawing. It was newly painted by an artist, but the style was close to our early ones. I mean the ukiyo-e Japanese traditional style. So that
Yeah, I mean, it definitely works for the music, so there's no denying that as well.
Yeah, because the Shiki, the latest album, is very Japanese album, both musically and lyrically. So I want to make everything very Japanese, including the artwork.
You find it a bit hard being obviously a Japanese band playing like singing in Japanese, writing in Japanese, when there's so many obviously English speaking people who are listening to this style of music.
Yeah, because it's a little bit difficult because I think heavy metal or even rock music is directly connected to the pronunciation of English because rock and metal is a very melodic and then a very rhythmic music, and the English is rhythmic. So I think the rock music is very much connected to the language English, and the Japanese is not rhythmic at all. It's rather melodic, so it's not easy to sing in Japanese, especially on very rhythmic music like thrash metal or extreme metal, which doesn't have any melodic singing basically. So I had to struggle a little bit, but now I prefer to singing Japanese these days because the last album, the Shiki, I wanted to express my fear of death very much straightforwardly, very as I wanted to express my naked feeling. So I had to use my mother tongue rather than singing in foreign languages because I wanted to use a very direct expression. So that's why I use Japanese. But singing in Japanese is very much different than in singing in English because pronunciations are totally different.
So do you go about writing in a whole different way when you're writing in Japanese versus English?
Yes, I think so because if I use Japanese, it's a direct expression. But of course, I understand English, but still, it's not my mother tongue, so it's quite different.
So going forward, do you intend to stick with Japanese or do you think you might switch it up again?
I'm not sure, but at least right now, I am thinking of sticking to Japanese for a while.
Have you already started planning what's coming next?
Actually, no, I've been trying to writing some new riffs, and I have been thinking about the new concept, but I have written only two or three new riffs in the year, so it will take, as I'm getting older, just the slower the things get. So it's not easy for me to do an album every year or every 2 year right now. So probably it will take a little bit more to do something new.
So what's the plan for Sigh as a whole? Are you guys planning on hitting the road, going on tour, or what's going on?
Yes, there'll be some tour happening from September and October and November this year. Then we have some another tour in winter of 2024. So we'll be on the road for a while. Then we have some plans like re-recording some older stuff with the new lineup and something like that. But we'll have a show in Tokyo in July. Just we're gonna play 90 minutes with a lot of stage set. So it's going to be a quite important event for side too. So we are pretty much busy.
So where do you draw your inspiration from when it comes to writing?
It's before my inspiration usually came from fictional things like horror movies or the books I read, that kind of things. But as far as the latest one, the Shiki, it only came from my inner feelings because now I'm 53. And of course, I wrote a lot about death when I was 20 or 30, but death was totally a fictional thing back then. Of course, I could die at the age of 20, but it's a rare thing. But now I'm 53. Unfortunately, some of my friends started dying. I lost my father last year. So death is not a fiction anymore. It's something real right before my eyes. So I wanted to express my very, my feeling in myself rather than getting inspiration from outside of me, like a movie or a book. So so the inspiration was totally different for, the last one.
So a lot of it, especially in the way of, the subject matter of death has basically changed from being fiction to reality.
Yes, yes. The theme is the same, but the way to see it is totally different now.
So obviously you guys include some more traditional sounds into your music as well. How do you go about
Yes.
writing those in and making it work with extreme metal?
Well, when I was a little kid, that kind of Japanese traditional music, sounded not cool at all. Because when I was younger, probably most of the Japanese people, when they are young, or probably in the 70s or 80s, people prefer to prefer the things from America because Japan was being Americanized back then. So every culture from the US or from Europe looked very cool. And the kids did not like the Japanese stuff very much. The same for the music. We prefer the rock and roll and heavy metal from the West. But as I get older, I started thinking the Japanese traditional music is also very, it is very cool. And I started learning some Japanese traditional instrument like shakuhachi. It's a Japanese flute. And I started listening to a lot of traditional Japanese music and the Japanese singing and uh, that kind of stuff. So it was very natural for me to start taking in that kind of elements in our music too. So as you see, the latest album is very much Japanese in every point. From the lyric to music to the artwork. So probably I keep doing that for the rest of my life.
So for obviously the Westerners who are into Psy, who may not know traditional Japanese music, do you have any recommendations on who people should be listening to maybe be able to appreciate Psy's music even more?
Well, it's actually it's very difficult to recommend because I prefer to listen to very old stuff like before World War II, because even the Japanese traditional music was westernized, you know, after World War II. So I try to search for a very, very old, rare recording from the end of 19th century or early 20th century. So probably it's not easy for the Western people to find those. But those are the real traditional music. It's like a old blues from early 20th century. Some people claim that's the real blues, not commercialized ones. The same thing for the Japanese traditional music.
So in terms of Shiki, what would you say are some of your favorite songs to actually play live?
Well, my personal fave is Mayonaka no Kai. That's the actual last track. I like it very much because it's got everything from flute solo to great guitar solo, Hammond solo, vocoder, and brutal singing, throat singing. It's got every element that is about Psy. So I like the track Mayonaka no Kai, and it's very fun to play live that song too.
And obviously, Psy started around the time that a lot of black metal was starting, and obviously in Scandinavia there was a lot of issues going on with black metal, a lot of death threats
Yes.
going around.
Yeah.
Did you guys deal with any of that at all, being so far away from it?
Well, because I was writing to Euronymous from Mayhem and Varg Vikernes from Burzum, but that was before the internet era. So I got a letter from Euronymous saying that he found the dead body, and the first thing he did was to go out and get the disposable camera, and also got a letter from Varg Vikernes saying he was burning down the churches, so you should down the churches in Japan too. But to be honest, I was not sure they meant it. I thought, that could be some kind of heavy metal gimmick or something because it was something hard to believe. And the I was not sure if Varg was burning down the churches for real because if you burn down the churches and if you boast it around, usually you could get caught, right after that. I couldn't believe, he burned down the churches and he was still on the loose. So I was not sure how serious they were, but right now, looking back, everything was true. So that was a crazy time for sure.
I mean, it's got to be crazy for you to think that you, well, not part of it, kind
Yeah,
of
I was not a.
knew.
Yeah, I was. Of course, I was not a part of it, but I knew what was going on. I was not sure about those things, but uh yeah, I knew those things in real time.
So what's the plan for celebrating 30 years since the official start of Psy?
Well, yeah, we're gonna go on the European tour this fall, and some of the show will be, yeah, we will. play Score and Defeat in its entirety. So that will be the 30th anniversary. Yeah.
I mean,
So
what more could you ask for, right?
sorry.
What more could you ask for? First album in full, then that's a great way to celebrate 30 years.
Oh yes, yeah. I never thought we would be still together after 30 years back then. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's crazy to think how much time has passed.
yeah, agreed. Because we were like 20 when we made the first album. Now it's 30th anniversary. It's crazy. Yeah.
What's your favorite song to go back to from Score and Defeat?
Well, probably the first one, the Victory of Dakini, is my favorite. It's very primitive. It's very simple, but still it's got some magic feelings. I love that track very much. The first song of the first album. I think it's usually very special for any band, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, of course. And then
Yeah,
getting to open with it is probably the best way to experience it.
yeah, all right.
Well, last but not least, Mirai, do you have anything you'd like to say to your fans listening in?
Oh yeah, thank you very much for support. I can't believe now I'm 53. I'm still, play full Sigh. But that's, thanks to the support from the fans from all over the world. I can't be thankful more. So I love you guys.